Welcome back aboard HMS Lazy Millionaire. Today, we're paying another visit to our friend, Robert Kiyosaki. Those who follow me will know I've already summarized his first book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where he looked at the differences in financial outlook between the rich dad and the poor dad. In his follow-up, Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, Kiyosaki looks at the attitude you need to have if you want to invest like the rich. We'll begin at the beginning. When he was a young man, Robert had little money, but he wanted to invest what he did have in his richer friends' business deals. Unfortunately, they always said no. And it wasn't because they looked down their noses at the poorer Robert, but because the US Securities and Exchange Commission restricts certain large investments to those who either have over $1 million in the bank or a consistent annual income of $200,000. Basically, to invest like the rich, you've got to be rich already. It's a bit of a catch-22 there. Robert wanted to know how he could break into this top tier. It was back to his rich dad for some advice. His rich dad once again told him it was all to do with his mindset. He told Robert he had to forget the attitude of his poor dad, which at first seemed strange. His poor dad had advised him to study hard for a good education, get a stable job, and move up the ladder, saving money along the way. That sounds pretty sensible, right? But the rich dad pointed out this way was wrong. He showed Robert the wealthiest 10% in America hang on to 90% of the money. Working hard at a job might, if you're lucky, keep a roof over your head and air in your car tires. But it will just keep you in the 90% that have only 10% of the money. Robert wanted to break into the top 10%, and I expect you guys probably do as well. You want to be Robert Downey Jr., and not the poor waiter bringing him his food for a lousy tip. To invest like the rich, you have to get into the mindset of the rich. You have to see what they see, read what they read, eat what they eat. Okay, maybe not the last one. You couldn't afford it. But rather than saying, I'll never be rich, you need to start telling yourself this. I'm going to be rich, and this is how I'm going to do it. But, how do you actually do it? Robert takes us through some key themes and ideas for investing success. Number 1, the rich make their money work for them. They have it sweating on treadmills and lifting weights like an Olympian. You won't find anyone who's serious about making money flogging their guts out in an office, working 9 to 5 and squirreling away a tiny part of their post-tax income in savings. Earned income is the hardest to become rich with. It's the 9 to 5 income, and it's taxed highly. Also, you have to physically be at your desk 9 to 5, so even this income depends on how long you can work for. Plus, your ability to earn more is determined by your employer. In short, you have very little control. Rich people make investments, and they often do this through businesses. In the United States, businesses can invest more money efficiently because it comes out of their pre-tax earnings. Everyone else has to try and save money after tax, so you've already got to be earning a lot more just to cover this extra drain on your income. But of course, investing isn't a day at the races. You need to know what you're doing. Or that con man with his cast iron tip will clean you out of everything you have, and you'll be back knocking on the door of the insurance firm you danced out of last week. 2. Financial literacy can unlock riches, but you'll need to work hard at it. A lot of finance speak sounds like a foreign language. I was never that good at foreign languages at school, but to get to where I am today, I had to master the language of money. For example, you need to know about assets versus liabilities. Tell yourself this every morning when you're brushing your teeth. Assets make money, liabilities lose money. Robert uses the example of a house to show what he means. You look at your house and you think, I own an asset. But there's no guarantee you'll be able to sell for a profit. And so for the time being, it's just a money-guzzling liability, swallowing mortgage payments like a massive concrete crocodile. Look at ways to move as much as possible from your liabilities to your assets, and develop your financial education. Understand how to invest, take advice, and listen to as much as you can, starting with this channel. 3. Evaluate risk and reward. People think that investing is risky, but in truth, it's the investor who's the biggest risk. Judgment calls are all part of financial literacy, and Rich Dad decided to test Robert with this question. Rich Dad asked Robert if he'd invest $25,000 into his nephew's burger stand. Robert liked burgers, but he liked the idea of hanging on to his $25,000 even more, so he said he wouldn't, because he saw too much risk for too little reward. Then Rich Dad asked Robert if he would invest the money if his nephew had been working in the burger business for 15 years, knew the industry inside out, and now wanted to build a global chain. This time, Robert said he would invest, because the opportunity was far greater and the risk was just the same. The lesson? To become a successful investor, you must learn how to evaluate risk and reward. 4. Finding a good deal. Robert worried about how he'd raise the money if he found a good deal. Where would the money come from? But Rich Dad reassured him the money would appear. If you are prepared, which means you have education and experience, the money will find you, or you will find the money. In other words, many people are happy to give money to a good investor. He's basically quoting Kevin Costner in Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Although that film is about ghosts playing baseball, so I won't mind if you don't base your financial strategy on it. 5. Become an inside investor. No, not an inside trader. That is most definitely illegal. Let's say you wanted help with making public investments. You could use the services of a qualified investor to handle your money, but they're still on the outside circle, relying on market reports to decide what to buy or sell. They don't have any form of control in the companies. An inside investor either creates an asset, like starting a business, or they invest into assets where they have some sort of inside advantage. For example, investing in a company and helping the business as an advisor. Starting with nothing, you could invest time and maybe a little bit of money into building a business that generates income for you as the business owner. And further down the line, you could sell that business for a tidy profit. The basic takeaway here is that before you start investing, you should first try to create your own business. Not only is this a strategy for success, but it will also help you build up money and knowledge that will help you in turn invest in other companies. And I know it can sound quite daunting starting a business from scratch, but don't forget, just over 100 years ago, 80% of Americans were small business owners, farmers, shopkeepers, and the like. Plus, starting your own business doesn't have to be as risky as you might think. You can even do it in your spare time. Michael Dell of Dell Computers began the business in his university dorm room, but eventually that small computing company became an asset worth billions of dollars. Oh, and don't forget that starting your own business allows you to minimize your outgoings by taking advantage of tax laws. You can even offset large amounts of business expenses, for example, and the rich take full advantage of this. 6. Strive for passive income and portfolio income. There are 3 kinds of income: earned income, which you receive from your 9-to-5 job; portfolio income, basically paper assets like stocks, bonds, commodities, and real estate, for example; and passive income, which are cash-flowing assets that provide income such as rent from houses, dividends from a business that you have created, or royalties from that romance novel set during the Black Death you've written. One of the biggest mistakes of the middle class is to think that getting a stable job, saving and investing will make you rich. But here's the thing. It will actually keep you in the 90% of people earning 10% of the money. Passive and portfolio income will make you money while you sleep, and they're generally taxed lower than earned income too. As Rich Dad tells Robert, if you want to be rich, work for passive income. This is a great takeaway and a good place to wrap up today's video. And if you want more business books summarized, then I've already made summaries of some of my favorites, including Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The 4-Hour Workweek, and The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And let me know in the comments below if there's a particular book that you'd like me to summarize next. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.